I would like to call this meeting of the Festus City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer,
Here.
Councilman Collier,
Here.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Here.
Councilman Weiner,
Here.
Councilman Dennis,
Here.
Councilman Benz,
Here.
Councilman Cook,
Here.
Councilman Tennant.
We do have a quorum. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to ask for a moment of silence to remember those 3,000 plus who tragically lost their lives September 11th, 2001. Thank you. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Tonight's bills are $900,096.86.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Tennant, Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes. Motion has passed. Remarks of visitors. First we'll have is Christina Olinger. Could you please state your name and address, please?
Christina Olinger, 412 Edgewood Lane.
All righty, thank you.
May I?
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Dennis, I emailed you a copy of this. I am here to give a brief update on the Edgewood Lane area rusty water issue. The hydrant flushing so far has provided just some intermittent relief. We're occasionally getting clearer water, never actually clear, but occasional days where it's a little bit better, but then it gets worse again. I'm also at the top of Edgewood, and it seems the issue is going downhill and getting worse. Specifically, there's a problem on Cypress. See photo number 1. This happens every time they flush the hydrant down there. I understand, Matt, you and Jack are working, and we appreciate you keeping her at the top of your priority list. Thank you. I also have a neighbor here with me tonight, Chris, who's over on Rosemary. Photo number 2 was taken just last week from his patio hose. And then last of those, photo 3, that is on Edgewood last week, and that's a home with small children in it. They're bathing in that. The waived water bills, while they're very much appreciated, they nowhere begin to cover the added expenses of us trying to combat this on our own. Not to mention the damage it's caused to our appliances, fixtures, the water filter systems, the filtration systems can't keep up. Photo 4, 5, and 6 are photos of water filters that should last 6 months or more, and they're replacing them probably every 2 weeks. We have a neighbor that replaced their water heater earlier, and that's something we don't have a photo of. And one of my biggest concerns in our home is that we don't know what it looks like on the inside of our water heater, but I'm assuming it is not good. With all due respect, at the last meeting, you voted to appropriate more than $200,000 to a walking trail in Crites Park. The emotions over on Edgewood are really raw. We're not feeling as hurt as we want to be, and spending money on trails when you can't deliver us clean water is alienating. It's upsetting. Emotions are raw. With that being said, the last three items are specific actions that some of my neighbors have asked for. The first one is that you're claiming this water is safe, but you wouldn't drink it either. I understand. We'd like to see if we could get specific testing of our water, not source water, but after it gets through our main. And we want to know what's in it. The photos 7 and 8 are photos of tap water from a kitchen last week. The first one was freshly poured. The second one is after it's settled. As you can see, the rust in the bottom of the glass. Another action they've asked for is that not everyone's on social media. We have a lot of elderly in our neighborhood. We have, people that don't know what's going on by what we've shared in our social media group. They're asking you to send letters to affected residents, offering them the water bill credit and an update of what's going on. We're spreading the word on our own as well. I understand a few neighbors are going door to door. Lastly, we would ask that you reconsider again supplying clean bottled water to those who need it until this issue is resolved. It should have been a priority a long time ago. That being said, I want to thank you for all the support you've been given us so far, and Mike for all the countless conversations we've had. We really want you to keep Edgewood at the top of your priority list. It's important. Thank you for your time. and
Thank
for your
you.
service.
Adam Feeser.
Mr. Adam Feeser. Could you state your name and address, please?
My name is Adam Alexander Fraser at 733 Woodland Avenue.
Okay,
Where you need to back up from the microphone just a little bit.
And
Back up just a little bit. There you go.
can I make a statement?
yes, go ahead. You have 5 minutes.
All right, we've been dealing with this guy for, all of us neighbors are sick of this guy at 725 North Mill Street. And I've tried to get all my neighbors to come together, and they came and they told me to come down to you guys. And I have a friend that used to work for city council. Her dad used to be the city councilman long time ago. Her name was Glorious Shadows. And I told her all about this guy. And we dealt with this guy many a times. He has stolen Cadillac converters off of people's cars. And he has warrants out the wazoo for the arrests. And he is living in a house that has no electricity or running water. And the utility's been cut off, and he has no business being there. And we just want the house condemned because it is nothing but caused problems in the neighborhood ever since 2 years. And I got pictures on my phone to show you what his yard looks like. And this is what we've been looking at for the last 2 years. And this is disgusting. And we just want this guy gone. He's got a rap sheet a mile long. And he's a very dangerous felon. And we called the cops so many times, us neighbors. And they tell us, well, he has a right to be there. And because he claims that he's remodeling the house and he is trespassing illegally. We all know that he doesn't have a job. He doesn't have money, and he has stolen property, and he's got solar panels out in front of his house out on the backyard, and his yard looks like junk, and it looks like a trash dump. And I'll show you my pictures if you like to see them. And we are all sick of this guy. And this is what we've been seeing with this right here. And we've been dealing with this guy ever since. And he's stolen a Cadillac converter off a neighbor's car down the street. And his buddy has been nothing but breaking into other people's property and stuff like that. And this is why our neighborhood has gone downhill, because of this guy and his buddy called Bunny Rabbit, as we call him. We don't know who the other guy is, but we call him Bunny Rabbit. And we don't socialize with him, but he's just been nothing but cause bad influence in the neighborhood.
All right. All right, sir. Thank you very much for your comments.
All righty.
Moving right along. We have a bid for the animal shelter outdoor recreation area. Can I have a staff report?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. For your consideration this evening, I would like to be able to move forward on what is hopefully one of our last fiscal year capital projects. That is that outdoor recreation area for the dogs and cats in our temporary care. As many of you know, we keep these dogs and cats that we find until they are adopted. We make every effort to adopt these animals out, but sometimes they are in our care for weeks. Thank you for approving this project in our budget this year. This gives those dogs and cats the opportunity to go outside and run and play and recreate, which is much needed. Nothing should be in a cage for weeks on end. That's just not humane. So my staff have done all they can moving this project forward. The last piece is the purchase of the synthetic turf. I have an example of it here for you if you'd like to touch and feel it. It is special turf just for animals, so it's made to be used as the animals you can imagine we're going to use it. The local vendor, ATG, is going to work with my staff to teach us how to install it. So we're going to save on that install price. So this is a materials only cost. The only other quote that I have in hand is from another St. Louis vendor for the same 2,400 square foot project is $40,000. So again, we're much better going off with this local vendor. And I would like your permission to move forward, please.
Is there any discussion?
Matt, what's the lifetime on this?
You know, that's a good question. I think it has a lot to do with the abuse that it takes from the animals. The one negative feedback I think that Crystal has is they got used turf that they put down. It's athletic turf, so it's not, again, it wasn't exactly the right thing. And it's not going well over there. They've had some problems with it, with the dog kind of digging it up at the seams and stuff. So we're going to get ours down right. We're going to buy the right stuff, and we hope that it lasts, at least 10 years. The second piece of this project that is yet to be completed is a shade sail. And so the shade sail will help not only make it more pleasant for the dogs to be out there, but it will keep some of the sun's rays off of this. So hopefully it'll extend the life of it a little bit.
Hey, Matt, couple questions. I know athletic turf, and that's the way to go because they have the beads in them, and animal just is designed for them. It doesn't. So I appreciate us not using athletic turf. I really like us using local, but the only question I have is we're kind of getting away from our policy of 3 bids for over our purchase, and I only have one here.
Yeah, I made every effort to get the three quotes again today. I did finally reach one of the other vendors that I've been working with via telephone. He was not able to get me anything in writing, but he told me over the phone it was $40,000 to $48,000 for the project, and he'd get me the email as quickly as possible. Again, we're trying to get this done before the end of the fiscal year, so we don't have to carry this project over.
I understand, but this was scheduled for a year, and I'm starting to get concerned. We're not following our own ordinance, and it's concerning me. So I appreciate local. I support it all the way. I'll pay more, but we got to get back to our ordinance. That's got me concerned.
I understand.
Thank you.
Is there any other discussion? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the bid of $10,260 to ATG Sports for the synthetic turf recreation area in our animal control.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilman Tenon,
Yes.
Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Motion does pass.
Thank you all.
Under ordinances and resolutions, tonight we have ordinance number 4741 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4741, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials and establishing an effective date.
Bill 4741 is now open for discussion. Can I have a staff report, please?
This is just the annual ordinance that we passed for the requirement for the Missouri Ethics Commission.
Is there any councilman who'd like to have this bill carried forward to the next meeting? Hearing none. Do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4741 for the second time?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4741 for the second time?
Bill number 4741, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri to establish a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain municipal officials and establishing an effective date. Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilman Tenon,
Yes.
Councilman Collier,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Bill 4741 has passed. We also have Bill 4742 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read this bill for the first time?
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, levying and authorizing the assessment and collection of a tax for the fiscal year 2023, 2024 for public health purposes, public library, general revenue purposes, and city parks, and fixing the time for the taking effect of this ordinance.
Bill 4742 is now open for discussion. Can I have a staff report, please?
This is the annual property tax revenue based on an assessed valuation of $100 for the general fund, for the firefighters, for health, library, and parks. The cumulative rate is essentially the same as it was last year because of the Hancock Amendment. The only difference in this would be any new property to be assessed in this fiscal year.
Is there any discussion?
Hey, Greg, any consideration on going for the internet use tax? And since Hancock Amendment's killing our property tax, we can offer something back to our citizens.
I think that'd be a wonderful discussion.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any councilman that would like Bill 4742 placed on the agenda for the next council meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4742 for the second time in title only?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4742 for the second time?
Bill number 4742, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, levying and authorizing the assessment and collection of a tax for the fiscal year 2023-2024 for public health purposes, public library, general revenue purposes, and city parks, and fixing the time for the taking effect of this ordinance. Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Councilman Weiner.
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Councilman Collier.
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton.
Yes.
Councilman Tenon.
Yes.
Councilman Benz.
Yes.
Bill 4742 has passed. We also have Bill 4743 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read Bill 4743 for the first time?
Bill number 4743, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a third amendment to commercial lease agreement with Dr. Elizabeth Fassler, incorporating said lease agreement as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Could I have a staff report, please?
Thank you, Mayor, City Council. Dr. Fassler has been a tenant at 410 West Main, which is the far end of the building that adjoins the library. The lease was originally amended in 2013, again in 2018. This year, this amendment to the lease agreement is the first time that we have proposed, and Dr. Fassler has agreed to an increase in the monthly rent payment. It would stay the same for the coming year, but then would increase by $100 per month every year until the end of this lease agreement, which would be in 2028.
Greg, quick question. Do you know how many square feet that is that she's renting?
Off the top of my head, no.
Okay.
I can find out. I can send that out.
Is there like a triple net or prorated of expense with this as well?
Pardon me?
Is there like a prorated expense, lot care, but that type of thing with this, or is this just flat?
She's responsible for the interior. We're responsible for the exterior of the building. So fortunately, the building has a new roof on it. We had a lot of tuck pointing done here as part of the Vergy projects that we've been doing. So the exterior of the building's in very good shape. And she's responsible for anything on the inside.
Is there any other discussion? If not, is there any council members that wish this bill to be carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4743 for the second time in title only?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4743 for the second time?
Bill number 4743, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the mayor to enter into and execute a third amendment to commercial lease agreement with Dr. Elizabeth Fassler, incorporating said lease agreement as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Councilman Cook. Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Weiner.
Yes.
Councilman Tenon.
Yes.
Councilman Benz.
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton.
Yes.
Councilman Collier.
Yes.
Bill 4743 has passed. Moving right along. New business. Main and Mill Street Festival. Mr. Foster.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm just here to hopefully get an okay to close Mill Street or Main Street from Mill Street to, oh, wow, now I'm just hitting a total blank. Adams, I think. Yeah. Okay. Nothing. We've done this. This is year 8. We missed year 6 because of COVID. I think it was 6 or 5. I'm not sure. But nothing's looking different than what we've done in the past. We're not really planning on changing anything. We keep saying we're going to, and hopefully next year we're going to make it bigger, but got quite a few irons in the fire on Main Street right now. So it's going to stay as is. Family oriented event. Close it. Usually I'm out there by 6 something, and then we clean the street. I'm back in the morning when it's light outside to make sure everything's cleaned up. But yeah, so just want to make sure that's okay.
All right, sir. Chief, do you have any comments?
The only thing I'd ask is, like in years past, just post ahead of time that the street's going to be closed, just so all the residents along there know.
Not a problem.
Is there any other discussion? If not, go
Sorry,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor. It's okay with your neighbors, right? This kind of after hours anyway, doesn't really affect the businesses of most of them. Then,
Yeah, we haven't had any issue. We were going door to door for the first 3 or 4 years. We talked to any new businesses, and overwhelming support for it. We try to be cognizant of every business owner and even the residents above the businesses as well, to make sure, as you know, we're trying to make it as I guess positive for everybody as possible.
thanks.
October 14th. It's always the second Saturday in October.
Is there any other discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the request by Mr. Foster for a Main and Mill Street Fest to be held October 14th.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Foster, have a street fest.
Thanks, council. Appreciate it.
Move right along to old business.
We discussed going ahead and finishing up our budget discussion unless council would like to set another date for another work study. Entirely your discretion. If there's any amendments or changes that we need to make what was presented. Otherwise, I think really the big piece is to determine any of the capital outlay projects that have been talked about. The 3 large ones that we've been talking about for some time, which is the handicap accessible playground, the splash pad, and also upgrading the pickleball court at Joker's Park. Again, it really, the questions are, which ones would council like to do? How much money do you want to appropriate for those projects, and where would you like that money to come from? Again, we've talked about the availability of the airport funds, but we've also talked about the reserve fund that the general fund has as well. So like I said, unless there's some additional questions related to the general operation budget, then and we can go ahead and do that if we just want to go ahead and put that up on the shelf. If there's anything anyone else would like to say related to the general operation budget.
Well, we thought we allocated $1 million for the splash pad. Or
For the
playground, right? Well, no, that's different. It was $1 million for the splash, 500 for pickleball. My question is to the mayor and to Greg. I know the airport money has always been a sensitive subject. I know Stephanie probably hates it because of the audit, but do we, way I read general revenue or the way I read the fund balance, we can just take it out of there and not really mess with the airport money.
That's true.
Has there been any discussions among with that, since you're kind of the chief of the budget?
You know, talking with Stephanie, the mayor, the amount of funding that's available in the general fund to pursue these projects is there, and again, doesn't get us anywhere close to those reserve fund requirements that we've talked about, whether it's 39 or a number lower than that. So it's healthy enough to be able to proceed. We have talked about if you wanted to allocate a certain portion of the airport funds, you'd be able to do that. If you wanted to allocate a certain portion of it and pay it back, you could do that as well. It's again, just council's preference on how they'd like to proceed. I do have early on I've been working on in anticipation of this. Again, we do have the tips pricing on the pickleball courts already from McConnell. I do have an RFQ for the design build contractor for splash pad. And at the same time, we've been talking with a number of playground equipment manufacturers and designers as to what they would be able to do. I do think in the back of your mind, you do need to realize that there's going to be some site preparation. I think where we've initially talked about placing the playground and the splash pad would be where Josh's old shop is. There will be, of course, some relocation money for the raccoons that we'll have to come up with. But the good part about it is the site has water, sewer, electric readily available. Whereas if we were to locate it anywhere else out at Kreitz Park, I think we would have some difficulty finding the same number of amenities or having to spend more money to bring amenities to another site.
Is it better to recycle the water, like you said, an extra 100,000 than constantly? Yes, that's what I figured it'd be a lot better. Again, I'd rather go that route than do it. And yeah,
You get up to about 80% reclamation, depending on how hot the day is and if it's,
and the other thing is the one that has been there longer, like Kevin and I, it is nice to keep an airport for reserves for something. As long as we can use our general funds, I'd rather do that and keep that airport always for what's a backup, if all possible.
Okay.
And Greg, before we close out, and I apologize, when we're done with budget, may I please bring up the water issue? So I can get an update on that too, please.
Yeah, and we still have council reports, mayor and council reports. We haven't done that yet. So, so if I'm hearing, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think the one thing that we need to be aware of is that this splash pad and inclusive playground is likely going to have more maintenance and manpower cost to it than some of our other playground equipment. So I think we need to be aware of that and that we have the appropriate budget going forward to make sure that whether that's some sort of community involvement with that. And I think there's things that we can look at with that as well. But Josh, would you agree with that? Because it's going to be something that attracts people to come down here. It's going to get a lot of use during every event that we have. So we want to.
What did Josh say? I
He said
didn't catch
yes.
what Josh said.
He said yes, it will take more manpower and more time.
Well, one thought I had too was if we're going to have such a big operation, would we consider concessions like food and drink and somebody to run that, possibly
No.
summertime help?
No,
No.
I say no. No,
Well, I mean, could that be something we look into? How's other places run?
you go on your own.
You go on your own.
Yeah.
Pack a cooler.
Okay. Back to the budget. Can we have several proposals of where the money comes from, like airport / general fund / whatever? So
Well,
we
it's
pick
pretty clear cut. I mean, I don't mean to, perhaps I'm oversimplifying it, but you're looking at the large spreadsheet where you have going into the start of the fiscal year, slightly more than $8 billion available that's in unrestricted cash. Granted, we're going to be doing some other capital projects during the year, so you will spend some of that down. The airport money is what it is. It's just slightly more than $2 million. So you can split it. You can, I think more than anything else, we need to determine what the budget is for these projects. We've been talking about them for over a year now. We've talked about working with a charitable foundation. We're still in the process of establishing the 501c3 that would allow us to do that. That does restrict us in some ways to
their products,
providers and products, correct. Whereas if we just decide to do it on our own, you get a lot more choice. You get a lot more options when it comes to handicap accessible equipment. The splash pad, again, there's a number of contractors out there that work on a design build process where they'll come in, they'll basically put together, you give them a budget, they're going to put together something that I think the park board will be able to spend some time with as far as a design and something that ultimately would come to council for approval. So by consensus, and I think more than anything else, we just need to know what the total budget and are all three projects in there. And Jim, you've been awfully quiet and you got your hand up. So
Well, yeah, I was trying to get those flies out of the way. But anyhow, I was kind of questioning what kind of interest has the airport fund brought in?
it's gone up, that's for sure. I mean,
And I don't mean percentage rate. I mean, like, I can't remember how long it's been, at least 10 years, 8 years or so when we did that. And it was like $1.2 million, $1.3 million, and it's up to 2 million. Is that correct?
it was always right around the 2 million mark. It certainly collected, we've spent into it and have paid it back. The fire truck was the previous fire truck was the last time we really did something like that. But needless to say, I think when we were, if you look at this year's budget compared to what we projected interest would be on investments at the time and what it actually is, because the interest rates went from 0 to well over 5% now, what you can get on just an overnight rate at the bank on our deposits. So we have collected some interest, obviously, a lot more in the last 9 to 12 months than we have forecasted. So that is money that does go just to the bottom line that allows you to either, like I said, if it's just depending on the source.
So we don't have any significant amount of interest that we've drawn or we've gained from the money, the principal in the first place. And I mean, what?
Yeah.
50,000, 20?
Yeah, Jim just noticed there on the column, we were looking at interest on the capital, the capital reserve, which is the airport money, forecast about 23,000 in the coming year. So
I was just I didn't know what it was. If it was significant, I was gonna say, why don't we use our interest money, leave the principal alone and use the money that we've gained. It's not, yeah. Okay, that's all I was gonna say.
You talked about splitting it. It's my understanding the airport fund is supposed to be something that's more of a permanent fixture. We already have a bid. Or at least the start of a bid or more realistic budget of what the pickleball courts are. But if we did a part from the airport fund just to cover pickleball, we'll do the rest from the general fund. Or not.
Any consensus?
Good talk.
I think as long as we meet the intent of the work done years ago, like Sam said, and Jim, and, as long as we meet the criteria, what we said, that it was for something for the betterment of the city. You do the math, tell us what to do. I have no problem. And like Sam said, this is what we agreed 2 years ago to better our city and more for our citizens. So that's my only thought.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any other discussion about the budget as a whole? Yes, ma'am.
So is it just $1 million for both the splash pad and the all accessible playground? I just need a number so I can place it in the budget for the final budget. Unless you have in
So we're looking at it, yeah, 750 each, or are you talking 100, or I'm talking $1 million and then 500K on?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
If we don't spend it, we don't spend it. So $1 million and then 500,000. But like I said, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. And we have the money to do it right. So would be $1 million, then 500,000.
Kevin, can you let Stephanie speak?
You can't hear.
Yeah, I can't hear her.
So I just want to confirm the 500,000 you want out of the airport and $1 million out of general fund reserves.
One for pickleball, one for the splash pad, all-inclusive playground.
The 1 million is for the splash pad slash all inclusive playground out of the general fund, and the 500,000, the pickleball out of the airport reserve. Is that what you wanted?
I got a question for that. Okay, so
I-
I understand what you're saying, 500,000 out of the airport, and a million out of general fund, but so does it really matter? I mean, or if we would take it all out of the general fund, could we reimburse ourselves out of the airport fund if?
However you would like to do it, I just need to know for the next meeting to
It would
present.
be easier to reimburse the airport fund than it would be to reimburse the general fund.
Okay, because before.
I mean, the
Stephanie-
general, I'm sorry, the airport money is just a static amount.
Right.
Um,
Well, before Stephanie said that, I was gonna basically say, let's take 500 grand out of the airport fund to fund whatever, and then $1 million out of the general fund, and then we have, without tapping into the airport fund heavily, we've actually done something with 500 grand.
Yeah, either way is fine. I just want to know exactly what to present to you at the next meeting. So if you want, basically your reserve numbers are gonna go down on both the airport, which is like a little over 2 million. And then your general fund is about 6.5 million. So you're gonna see both of those ending numbers on the green sheet go down because I have to do the transfers and all of the other things like that. So I just want to be clear with what I'm presenting with what you're asking.
I like that idea.
But if we don't need all the airport, we can
We
put
do
it
need
back
it.
in the airport.
Right, it's just
Okay.
budget. I mean, if you don't spend it, then it goes back to your reserve and
all right. So I guess to summarize, where I'm at, what we're hearing and what you would have to approve for the 23-24 fiscal year would be utilizing $500,000 of the airport funds to do the improvements to the pickleball facilities at Joker's Park, and then using general fund reserve money. Is it 1 million that you want to invest in a splash pad and an additional 500,000 for the ADA accessible playground adjacent to that? Or is it 1 million for both those
Yeah.
together?
1 million from local.
1 million for both. Okay.
Hey, Greg, if I may, real quick, just yes or no question, because if I'm sitting in the audience and we're throwing these large numbers out, and I know people are here about water quality, when we get our engineered water study back, that improvement will come out of the water sewer.
Correct. Yeah.
I
The
just want to make sure.
enterprise fund, water sewer is completely different.
Correct. But we're not ignoring them.
No, we're
I
not.
just want to make
No,
sure.
no, these funds are funds that are allocated for different things.
Right.
And they can only be spent for certain things.
I-
Okay. Yeah.
Just for perception
I'm
of
glad,
my
I'm glad you
level.
did that.
Yeah, because I'm a simple person. I'd be stewing back there and thank you.
Hey, Greg, it's $1 million, so $1 million for the splash pad water, is that enough for the ADA and that, or do we need $1.5 million? Or-
Well, I think you can scale it. I know, Josh, you had your hand up.
With Bobby, I would just think that if we're going to go all in on this project, we should probably go just over just to have it there. Like I said, we don't have to spend it all, but do we really want to come back 3 or 4 times to make sure this all happens?
So safely say $1.5 million.
Everything else, I say $1.5
$1.5 million, and then
Then you
hopefully,
get that, And like I said, there's a chance we won't spend it all,
right,
but at least it's there.
right. Like you said, without keep coming back saying, hey, I need another 100, need another 10, need whatever. Okay.
I agree. It's kind of like a letter of intent in a way. We know this is where we're hoping, but in reality,
Right.
because we don't want, like you said, you don't want to scrimp, and how many later, building sessions do you want to do? Say, hey, we got another, we want to do it right and do it from the start. So
I wasn't here at the time, but I'm sure some of you,
Right now.
I'm sure some of you remember the stories, and I'm sure that I've heard some of the stories, how the stage out at Kreitz Park kind of nickel and dimed us because there wasn't enough of a budget there to begin with. So I think at the end of the day, the fiscally responsible thing to do is to make sure that you have enough funds allocated to do the project and do it right. And we will do that. Obviously, we're going to go through a full RFP process on this. There will be design consultants and contractors selected to do this work. And we fully intend to actively involve our park board in the process as well to get their input. community input, because this is going to be an asset for the community for decades.
Where is this going? Like toward the back of the Kreitz Park?
No, we
Or-
talked about where the old park shed is
Right.
off of Sunshine there,
Okay.
where we would basically demo that. There's a large enough space there. It's all level. There's an adequate area for parking. It would be visible. It would be
Okay.
accessible.
Well, that's, I'm glad. That's good. That's a good spot for it. So.
About the only thing you'd have to worry about is somebody got a hold of one and knocked it over the right field fence on field 7, I think. So, yeah. Okay, we'll have numbers for you. We'll have an updated budget highlight sheet and an updated capital sheet
And
for
the-
your review and approval at the next meeting on the 25th. I don't have anything else for old business unless there was anything else you all wanted to discuss related to the budget.
Hearing none, let's move right along. Council reports, Councilman Boyer.
I'd like to tell Stephanie, we thank her for her budget that she's put together. It's been it's a lot of work and she's done a fine job on it. Appreciate that. Christina Olger, certainly appreciate you bringing in the paperwork that you've done here, the pictures and everything. And we've not turned a deaf ear to that. We're trying to figure out what all we can do to improve that situation out there. I can identify with some of that. We've had that happen, but not as long as what you guys have been tolerating it. We'll have to discuss and get back with you all on that, on how to help you out a little bit more on that. And sir, that's all I have.
All righty, thank you. Councilman Weiner.
Stephanie, thank you for your budget. I think it's a good budget. It's taking care of the employees. Everybody is pretty well able to absorb inflation as it is right now. There's some good capital projects that we've also included in there. Chris in the back of the room. That is those are some rough pictures for sure. And I would be livid if I were sitting in the back and thought that the council was spending all these monies additionally when they do come out of different funds. So, but we will do something. We are working on it. I spoke with Greg this afternoon regarding it, and it's beyond my pay scale, but there's looping and non-looping going on. And I think that Greg, if maybe you could chime in on that a little bit, please.
Yeah, Jack, who's been in the area working to get the hydrants flushed. I think he was there on Friday. All the hydrants did run clean on Friday, but again, when you have situations, there's a dead end at the end of Cypress that we're working to, excuse me, to get locates called in, determine the size of the pipe that's there and how it can connect to the cross street. There's 2 valves already in place. There's some stubs, I think, already in place. So we're hoping, especially on the Cypress side, that some of this can be alleviated just by finishing the work that was never completed when it was originally put in. So we are working on that now. Obviously, a lot of the work moving forward will be completely dictated by the water master plan. We expect to get the first draft of that first part of November. That will allow us to really be able to prioritize, not just from what we know about the system, but having some engineers come in and give us some data for us to be able to move forward, because I don't want to throw good money after bad. That would just be irresponsible. We do have the resources on the water fund side to do this. And if it means that we have to replace all the mains in the streets, that's what we'll do. We have aging infrastructure all over town, and that's not an excuse. It's just a statement of fact that we want to get this stuff addressed. And I know it's not fair. It's not fair. So we hope to be able to get that ball rolling, at least on what we hope is a short-term, immediate thing we can do to address it, and then moving forward, be able to make some more strategic plans. And if that, like I said, if that involves taking that it's about a 70-year-old main out of the ground and replacing it with PVC, then that's what we'll do.
Thank you, Greg. So Ms. Ollinger, I just wanted you to know that people up here are working on it, as the mayor said, and we do care about it, and we're working to try to make it right. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Councilman Dennis.
Once again, I want to apologize. I don't mean to be interrupting, but if there's a bit of a sound disparity here, what I can hear and what I can't. So I'll try raising my hand, and I didn't mean to jump in front of you, Mr. Mayor, a while ago. You kind of brought it up, an action plan and maybe a map of affected areas. We can get a general idea of what we're dealing with as far as where the water's going and where it's identified as bad. And then I don't think Mrs. Ollinger's request of bottled water and things of that nature are unreasonable, or it's probably all things that we can handle, right? Or even possibly a meeting with the residents over there, and if the elderly do not have internet access, to where we can get the information out to them. I know you get your water bill in the mail, or if Ms. Ollinger wants to get a list of people together to where we can talk to them and bring them in the loop. But that's kind of what you said you were going to do. So I'm going to bring up an unpleasant topic that we discussed some years ago, and that was council pay. I think the time has come to where we need to raise the council pay a little bit, and it would not affect me. Is the reason I'm bringing it up. It would only affect those. The only way it would affect me if I would run again for my 12th term. So I would like to bring it from $300 to $500 a month. And my thought is possibly to get some more people interested in serving. It's not an extreme amount of money. It's another $1,600 a month for the whole council, but quite a few people run unopposed. There is a lot of work to it. It's not just a 1 or 2 day thing. It's getting to be an everyday thing. So I know it was brought up in the past, and hopefully it will generate people to give their time if there's a little bit of reward, but that would be from $300 to $500 before taxes. Could that be considered in the October meeting, and then it can come to a vote and it can stand on its own merit? But my thought is that it would be a good idea to possibly try to go get more people interested in the council.
We can put a package together. It would have to be done by ordinance. And as you mentioned, it would only affect those who run for re-election or election in April. That would be half the council, and then it would affect the other half in the following year. But we can certainly put together an ordinance for council's consideration in October, if you'd like.
Yeah. The only other thing, being on the water authority, we're making leaps and bounds up there with this new collector system. I was talking to Mr. Slabby this weekend, and he said everything's really looking good. So hopefully that will help towards our goal of getting this water corrected for our residents. So that's all I have, sir. Once again, I apologize for jumping in or interrupting. A little trouble hearing some people. So thank you.
Righty. Thank you. Councilman Cook.
Thank you, sir. Greg, on the list that was submitted, and I've talked to several residents by social media. Do you think it's time we turn in our insurance company and kind of take us out of the equation and let the insurance company start looking into things, especially like hot water heater, appliance damages, stuff like that?
When you get into utilities, specifically water and sewer, a lot of that is not covered. I'll certainly make an inquiry as to whether or not there would be any type of claim that could be filed. To go back again to Christina's comments, though, and it related to we can certainly do testing in the area. We do household testing all over as part of a monthly process that we go through. Jim Tyndall collects those samples. They go out once a month. We can do that in that neighborhood if we're not doing it already. And we can make those results available to the residents. And if council would like, I think we could probably secure relatively inexpensively a pallet of water and make bottled water available to the residents on Edgewood as well. I'm seeing nodding heads. So I think we can pursue that, make the water available at Public Works. And residents would be able to come by and pick up some drinking water. And at the same time, if needed, we'll go ahead and put a notice with the next utility bills that go out, whether it's in the focus or if it's on the bill itself. We'll go ahead and make sure that that is circulated so that those folks on Cypress and on Edgewood would get notice from someplace other than the website or social media platform.
Perfect. You just took care of number 5 for me too, 'cause I thought you made a very, very valid point for residents who are now on social media. And my apologies. I meant to get with you and Matt much earlier. Can we circle back on the stipend pay? I'm still, can I meet with you guys this coming week? Then I think Kevin's onto something, but there's one thing that still kind of irritates me, and I'd love to get an answer on this, the pension. I just don't like council members in the pension. And
You
I
can
know-
opt out.
I want to see an ordinance. I just don't think elected officials on a county level or city level should get the pension. I just don't. And we can use that money to fund what Kevin's recommending, and then you get reimbursed while you're serving. I just have a hard time anybody getting anything when their years of service is done. I just don't think we should have a pension. So I would love to see some type of, when you have time, research that. And last but not least, I was in the shower the other day and Chuck Boyer must be mad at me because he pulled my meter and I lost my water. So thanks, bud. That's all I have, sir. Shh.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Collier.
I echo the same sentiments as the other council members with the Ollingers and the people out there at Edgewood and Cypress. Stephanie, thanks for the fine job on the reports. And I think we ought to be doing everything that we can to figure out the source of the water problem, which I think we are in the process of doing it. It just takes time. And sometimes it takes longer than we want, but the only thing we can do is just do the best we can do and try and solve it as quick as possible. That's all I got, sir.
All right, sir. Thank you. Councilwoman Templeton.
Stephanie, good work on the budget. I know we're kind of like herding cats up here sometimes, but we definitely appreciate your patience. To Mrs. Ollinger and everybody else that is in Edgewood, thank you for coming forward and being the speaker. I know that's not always the easiest thing to be the one to talk about it, but as everybody else is, we just all completely support you as much as we can. And, you will have to let us know. I do think that there's something to be said, and somebody else had said it about maybe going out and talking to the people that live out there. There's something to be said for transparency and just being in front of people where they feel like you're there and you're listening and you're present. So I don't know if that's something that we could do, because I don't want her to feel like her job is to now go back and be secretary for everybody, because then you're kind of playing telephone. We need to make sure we have current, accurate information. And I also wanted to touch back on, we had talked about, here we are talking about walking paths and parks when we've got a major water issue going in one of our neighborhoods and how it's different money. My thought is, can we do some sort of a public education on how a budget works? Because I don't think people truly understand that when you're doing this. So if you've seen anything that's been on Facebook about Main Street, you get people talking about other issues. Well, we have street issues, we have these issues, but I don't think people really understand that how a true budget works, that there's different line items and different places for money to come from. It's not all just one big pot. So I think if we could at least offer it, if nobody comes, but at least kind of a budget 101. Hey, this is how city government works. We'd love to have your input, or at least come get some information. Exactly. And then obviously I'm very excited to see the pickleball move forward, but the splash pad and the playground move forward. My only ask would be is that when we get to the point of, we're starting to firm up more of what those contents will be, is that we pull in from the special education department at Festus, because those teachers see on a daily. Yeah, right. True. But those people see on a daily basis what kind of our community needs are. Because we do want to tailor it to the people that are, they're in our schools and people are going to come in. That's it.
Thank you, Councilman Vans.
Yeah, and I'd like to say we're sorry too. Hopefully we do get that water situated for you. And very successful Twin City Day. Seemed like a lot of people, good time. Main Street very crowded.
Some people won trophies. Some people did not. If you haven't seen Dave's
Car?
57 Chevy, by
Yeah.
the way, it's what Sundance is the name of the car.
Yeah.
It's a stunner. It is a stunner.
We can book things made for the plaques.
Oh, you just made his day, didn't you, Brian?
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so when we went down there, we took the first place down there yesterday. And the commander's choice is not made by his company.
Yeah.
The weren't.
But like I said, it was seemed like, I went, did the activities for the golf and did the Main Street, went out there for the 80s band. I stayed till the end.
Where you live?
I should, well, yeah, I ain't got no hair, but I stayed to the end. The last, there probably wasn't even 100 people at 11 o'clock at night, but I was all the way to the end. And it was great. That last hour was fantastic. Seemed like after they did the drawing for the police, 50-50 backstoppers, man, the crowd left, but it was cold. I mean, I only got up and moved around because I was cold, so I had to dance, but very successful. I mean, great for the city and well attended. So Main Street, the spot that we keep talking about between, I guess, Father Time and the spot that
The pit,
yeah, the pit. Anything on that possible to where?
it's changed hands within the last few years.
I mean,
but,
people keep asking because just like Pogolinos, they made that patio situation, I guess, or, put tables out. People are more and more places are putting tables. Any thoughts of, we got that nice little park that was donated, there at the corner. Any possible that somebody would just, let's say, hey, let's just donate.
Get your checkbook out.
Well, I didn't know if the person that owns it,
They're out of St. Louis. I don't know much more than that off the top of my
if
head.
they've had any,
We can make inquiries.
it would just be nice to, open it up or something, if possible. If no one's going to take it, let's try to make it a nice little patio or something. But other than that, that's all I have, sir.
Thank you very much, Councilman Tenen.
I've got a couple things. I wasn't at the concert, Bobby, but a couple people asked me about the lighting going to the bathrooms.
Yeah, dark.
Very dark.
Yes.
And so I don't know what would be involved to get some lights going next year, maybe. Is that possible?
I mean, they had 6 light plants. We kind of let them.
That's a chamber event,
More than they
so
wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, during Firecracker Festival, we always put one right behind.
Yeah, and that's what I was told. The firecracker festival was fine. This was
Yeah,
dark.
the chamber set them where they wanted them, so. we
Okay.
didn't have any control over that.
Okay, and then the other thing, I passed out a, excuse me, a little handout about the tennis courts. And guys, I've been talking about these friggin' tennis courts, so I'm blue in the face. And we had we actually had a discussion years ago about finishing projects before we start new ones. And when we were talking about the pickleball courts, this kind of got me going a little bit. So we've been talking about finishing the tennis courts over there as far as the concrete around the courts. And I know we just got some bleachers over there lately. But I'd like to just see them be finished. And then also the other thing that I made a list down here at the bottom of things that just need to be done. And Josh, I know you got a lot on your plate, but it's like, I don't know if the people with the basketball courts are just destroying the fences or who's tearing them up, but right now we have no support on that center fence over there. It's just getting trashed and it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I hate to spend $400,000 or $500,000 on items and then we just let them go to hell. So if we could just look at the list, and I know, I'm sure Josh has replaced the latches and and the broken ones, the missing ones, and like I said, the fencing is just getting destroyed. I don't know if we could do cameras or what we got to do over there to keep the people from just tearing them all up. They definitely need to be power washed. And the biggest thing though is, now we have a girls and boys tennis season going now. It's been a long time coming. So they are going to have a lot of use on them. So if we could just kind of, catch up with some of the other cities around town, as far as, not around town, but around the area, as far as the bleachers and having places for people to sit and enjoy watching the games. So it's been talking about for a long time, guys. So hopefully we can get that done, because other people are, constantly on me about, hey, you're a councilman, what can we get done here? So hopefully we can get that done, and a few items on the list. And again, I'd like to say the same thing to the people in the back. I can assure you, and I'm making a big statement saying that someone will be done with that water, because it's ridiculous. And, it's, we can't sit up here and say, yeah, we have all the answers, but definitely work is being done to find out what's the problem over there. And I'm like Mike. If Mike wouldn't have said it, I would have. When we're talking about spending all this money, and you guys are drinking whatever it is, I would be pretty disgusted as well. But like I said, I can assure you that we're trying to get that solved. We're not just turning our back on it and let it go. And Stephanie, great job on the budget. Good job. That's all I got.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, we did have a good weekend at Twin City Days. And I can assure those of you that are sitting in the back that had these water problems, I can assure you that we are going to get to the bottom of it, and we are going to get it fixed. Because you need to have that done. And we're going to do everything we possibly can to fix it. And bear with us again. Yes, sir.
So we need to get rid of some of these abandoned houses in the neighborhood, because we're getting more and more homeless people in the neighborhood. Like 721 on Dan and Kate Smith's house.
Okay.
We need to get rid of all the abandoned houses too.
All right, sir. Thank you. That's all I have. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.